I like Porter 350.
Yeah, that was the best I could come up with.
That's a Bubba.
And is he the new president of the NRA?
I believe he may be.
This guy here?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He is now advocating armed insurrection, and he gets away with it. I don't get it. But that's beside the point. Let's look at I need to look at the Dukes of Hazzard. Oh, yes. Well, we're not quite there, are we? So anyone want to, let's see, I want to know if there are people that might be comparable to good old boys or rednecks in Russia or in Kazakhstan, for that matter, Diana. So I don't know if you have a good enough idea of what these people are like to tell that. A redneck, help me here, guys.
Okay.
Typically not too educated.
Not too educated. Kind of very traditional values. Probably a blue-collar worker.
Oh.
Okay. So, Vlad, Diana, you get a picture of what a good old boy is, Bubba?
Do you know the difference between a blue-collar worker and a white-collar worker?
Well, let's start there. Do we know about blue-collar and white-collar workers? Diana, Vlad? What's the difference between blue-collar and white-collar?
Hello.
Hello?
What difference between blue collar and white collar worker? Yeah.
Yeah. Diana, do you know? Vlad, do you know?
As I remember from school, the blue collar worker is blue collar worker are people who workers by their hands. It means people who work, for example, in factories, in some industry, I don't know. So it's yeah. And on the other side, the white collar workers, it's people who working by using their mind. It's people who, I don't know, for example, lawyers.
Okay. Those are excellent examples, and I think you understand the concept. So here we are. We're back. The question is there anyone? Is there a Russian equivalent to a Bubba or a good old boy? And the way we described Bubba or good old boy was very traditional values, probably a blue-collar worker, probably lives in the country, or used to live in the country, or comes from the country. And
may drive
country. I mean not the provinces, but I mean like the villages, something like that. Professor Smith?
May drive a pickup truck, or in the case of these two gentlemen, sort of a souped-up car, sort of a zest for life, maybe.
But women should be either thin and wearing not very many clothes, or home and pregnant.
Deanna, I hope we haven't lost you. Where are you?
So when I think about Russian good old boys, he's not a perfect example because he wears a suit, but sometimes I think of Mr. Zhirinovsky. Lad, what do you think? Can you give us an example in Russian of someone who you might consider a good old boy?
I'm thinking about good examples.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. There's no good people on this earth.
Oh! Spoken like a true liar.
Maybe only Jesus. No, of course it's just a joke. Good old boy.
I'm trying to think of a good old boy in U.S. politics.
I really try, but I can't.
Now, some people call Bill Clinton Bubba, right?
Yes. However, he's not a true Bubba.
No. And some of the former governors of Texas, you know, I think of Bill Clements, for example.
Oh, yeah.
But George W. Bush, who meets a lot, he would not be a Bubba.
A Yale-educated Bubba.
Yale-educated Bubba. All right.
So, as I understand, you're talking about good old boys like a man who make a positive contribution in some sphere or something like that.
I think you're right. I think that a good old boy a good old boy makes a positive contribution somewhere, either to his family or to his community or to the organization that he belongs to. But it's a compliment. It's a complimentary term. Good old boy.
And redneck, not so much.
No. I would like, you know, it would be if you inscribe the epithet "good old boy" on someone's tombstone, that would be an honor. But if you describe redneck, well, that would not.
But redneck is a totally negative word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Often, you might say he's a stupid redneck. Although that might be kind of redundant.
I think it's like a Russian word, bydlo, redneck.
Would you write that in the...
Yeah, write that in the chat.
It's a very popular word in Russian.
It's not the kind of word you know if you don't live there.
Bydlo.
Yeah.
Bydlo, like, is that like cattle, like a cattle? Huh? Bydlo. Bydlo. Ясно.
Okay, so the mindset from a village, and I think we talked last time about how we don't have villages in the United States as much as we have small towns. Village for me is a British word, and I don't know anybody who lives in a village in the U.S. you're more likely to find a Bubba in a small town than in the city. And of course, that's one of the reasons it's hard to come up with an example, because Bubbas aren't necessarily very well known. I knew when I lived in Dallas, in Texas, I had a place that I went to eat breakfast, a little cafe where I went to eat breakfast, and I got to know all of the family that lived there, that operated the restaurant, and except for Bubba. Bubba was the brother that I didn't meet, and for a long time. But then Bubba showed up one day, and I almost missed that because they didn't introduce him as Bubba. They said, "This here's Vernon, my brother Vernon." and I said, "Oh, Vernon, I hadn't heard about you before, although I've heard about other members of the family." And Vernon says, "Well, that's because they usually call me Bubba, and you haven't seen me before because I just got out of prison."
Bubba.
Bubba.
So,
well,
your
Bubba,
mindset...
From Bubba to Beloit is what I was going to suggest.
I love it. So, your mindset is the way that you think about the world around you. And people generally share a mindset with their peer group. So, you hold beliefs in common, that is, your mindset, with a number of people in your immediate environment, or in your, should I say, class, and they're taken for granted mindsets. So you may not be aware of the ideas that you have that are taken for granted. And that's what I think I wanted to explore by looking at some of the ideas that are common to a group of people who will finish their university degrees, if all goes well, in 2016. And one of the I thought it would be interesting for you to look at this and see if there was anything on the Beloit mindset list that is common to your belief system. So that's what I want to know, for starters. Is there anything there that is true for you? Some of these things you're not going to know about, I assume. And before, I'm going to ask each of you to talk about that. So one of the things that, for me, a list like this is very useful when I'm teaching American college students, because, and this list was actually developed for American college professors, university professors, so that they would have a better idea of the way their students view the world. And So, born in 1994, they have a different experience. They are having a different youth.
Born in 1994, so like for example, Russian students today, class of 2016, would never have lived in the time when there was a Soviet Union.
They don't know what the Soviet Union is. It's history to them.
And so that would be a huge difference in lifestyle, in way of looking at the world. If the context, mindset in a way is context. The context is very important for your belief system. So number 2 on the list is they have always lived in cyberspace, addicted to a new generation of electronic narcotics.
That's right.
You think that's right?
Yes. To my mind, it's problem number 1 of modern generation.
A problem?
Yes. Mostly problem, I guess, but it's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do they do online that you think it's a problem?
To my mind, I dare to say that that the big part of modern generation is sick about, and I will explain to you why.
Yeah.
To my mind, people stop to appreciate their real life and enjoy with small things. For example, to my own experience, I'm really grateful to God for the fact that my childhood existed without smartphones, tablets, PC, and computers with internet. Because I didn't have a mobile phone until I get high school, but despite this fact, I have always found the way how to communicate with my friends without Facebook, phones, and other things. And sometimes I really spend half of the day on the street with my friends, and I was happy. I have a large circle of friends, and we always involved in sports, playing football, riding bikes, thousands team games, and I really have a lot of warm memories to tell to my children. But often, what's the problem? I can't say the same about most of modern teenagers and adult people. They look unhappy. For example, during the 5 or 4 years, I didn't see anyone on the playground of my district. Almost no groups of teenagers, because as I remember, in my days, we could have about 50 people at the same time on the playground. And today, all kids play video games. In any places, they always online. In social networks, and the social networks became the only one, the way number 1 of interaction between people. And a lot of, and I can say it's the same about some of adult people. People became, I don't know how to say, like a consumer of cyber sphere. I don't know. Maybe, of course, maybe I exaggerate some facts, but in any way, I think that truth is not so far, because I I don't understand the people of my generation who spend most part of their life on social networks, make some stupid, useless blogs and absolutely meaningless reports of news. It's really like a cyber drug, and people become afraid to speak with each other because some of them just offline. They're afraid to ask each other personally or just even call. And I don't know. Of course, on the other side, technology improves our life. Yes, there are a lot of advantages because really we can say that gadgets help us to get smarter because of unlimited amount of information in internet. But I would like to emphasize my idea that I'm talking about global question and about global influence of technology. And I mean that in this context, technology makes society much more, I don't know, silly and manageable, something like that. It's my opinion.
Okay.
So Diana, how do you feel about this? Is that your experience?
For me,
Would you agree with Vlad or not?
of course, I fully agree with Vlad on that, and I think that it's a very widespread problem because nowadays children are addicted from different gadgets. For example, I work in the kindergarten, and I work with children, and sometimes I can see that they don't want to play with each other because they have their gadgets, and they play all their free time in this gadget, and parents allow them to do it. That's why I personally believe that it's a very big problem. Also, I want say that for this generation born in 1994 and in 1996, persons like Vladimir Vysotsky, Viktor Tsoi, and Igor Talkov have always been dead, because it can influence on their way of life, of their mindedness, and in other important things in life, because they listen to stupid music, they watch stupid cartoons, and they don't read at all. So it's my point of view on this problem.
Talk about Viktor Tsoi. Tell Professor Marston who he was.
Viktor Tsoi.
Legend.
Sorry?
It's a legend, he said.
Yes. it is the singer who sang different true or true songs about life and the generation of our parents growing up on his songs, so it's a legend. Vlad, you are right.
What year did he die in?
Died in the car accident. Yes, like Kurt Cobain in USA.
И в каком году?
Oh, unfortunately, I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, 93 in a car accident.
Yes, in a car accident.
Oh, yeah, maybe 90. I'm not sure.
So he was a pop legend, Professor Marston. And, you know, frequently when I hear young people described today, we talk about them never having known the Beatles or never having known, you know, trying to think of these musical groups that we were familiar with, right, but that young people wouldn't know. Simon and Garfunkel, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Wow.
And Victor Tsoi, boy, he's hard to describe. He's sort of a, there's a little bit of Harry Chapin in him. Professor Lero, you may have to help me here.
You're doing great.
Just you know, a legendary figure. Mój boy. He's later than the Beatles. He lives into the 90s. A real iconic figure. Yes, and there's a very famous slogan, "Soy Jiv," right? He's still with us. He's still alive.
Oh, kind of like Elvis.
Yeah, there was a little bit of Elvis in him. Yeah.
I was thinking about the reference to Elvis as still being alive.
Elvis lives, right. And let's see, can one of the Russians post a picture of Victor Tsoi? In fact, Jan, you may remember the picture of the gentleman walking up the subway steps with a guitar that I used in some posts in when we were sitting on our suitcase pieces.
Yeah.
That was Victor Tsoi.
Oh, I'm looking at Tsoi, the picture that someone has just uploaded. But I need to know, is he the person who's sitting on the curb?
This is actually a wall, I believe, in Moscow where people go to write remembrances about him. And in fact, there's a huge mural with his face there. I believe this is the, can one of the Russians tell me where this location is? It's in Moscow, right? Vlad, where is this picture? And go ahead.
Yeah, I really don't remember, but maybe it's Moscow.
Yes, it is in Moscow.
Yeah.
It is wall, Tsoi's wall on the Krivo-Arbatsky Avenue.
Yeah, Arbatsky, yeah, that's it.
Yes, it's in Moscow.
And you'll see the word Kino there, Jan, several places. That's the band with which he was associated.
Up here, there's that slogan here, right here, Soy Zhriv, right there where the yellow arrow is. You can see that. Something here, bez muziki, without music, something. I can't read it.
Snyatny Krasny.
He sounds like a folk singer to me.
There was a piece of that. He was sort of early rock, would mix with a little folk.
This looks like the same thing. Soy Zhriv down here, down at the lower left. It's very hard to read fragments here.
Ah, yeah, the Russian proverb, right? Snyatny Krasny.
Which means? What would you say that means?
There is no beautiful death in this world. Something like that.
Right.
Okay. Well,
you also named another singer, Diana, Vysotsky. Can you talk a little bit about him?
Yes, Vladimir Vysotsky. It is. Oh, sorry. He was a Russian singer, poet, and
Actor, right?
And actor, yes.
Not Taganki.
Yes.
Would we consider him a bard?
Yeah, the English word we use is bard. Joe's got it.
Bard. Diana, we interrupted you. You were talking about Vysotsky.
Also, seen about life, and he had a special view on Soviet life, and on the rules, on the authorities of the Soviet country. So his songs was banned by government, and he died in I don't know.
Fairly early on, right? In the late 60s or 70s.
Did he have a very gravelly voice?
Yeah, he has the most amazing voice. And he was an actor at a theater called Taganka, right?
Yes.
And in fact, one of his Hamlets is considered sort of like, the classic Hamlet in the West. He did a version of Hamlet that's right up there with, is it Gielgud and some of the others in the West.
Could someone write his name in the chat? Oh, okay. And so for musicians of this era, I could who are American, I could easily go to YouTube and find recordings of people singing. Even people pretty, well, let's see, one important early jazz person was Django Reinhardt, who was a French gypsy from the 30s. And you can find classic recordings of Django's music on YouTube. And I wonder if it's possible to find things like that for Russian artists. And so I'll bring up YouTube since it's kind of one of the things that is ubiquitous. Do you look up things on YouTube, Dima?
Or our YouTube? Are you with us, Dima?
Yes, I'm with you, but I don't understand what is the question.
Do you look things up on YouTube? Do you watch YouTube with any regularity, or our YouTube, I should say?
I don't watch. Sometimes I watch YouTube. And just a minute.
Okay, so on the mindset list, there was something that Professor Smith was captured by, and that is if they miss the Jon Stewart show, they can always get the news from YouTube. Now, I know that the part of that about watching Jon Stewart is not what troubles Professor Smith, because he is a fan.
I'm probably not troubled by any of that. I don't know. And the number is frightening. Like 40% of young adults get their news from Jon Stewart.
Whoa.
Something like that.
And why do you think that's odd? You, I think, have been exposed to Jon Stewart, perhaps in this class. Why would some of us find that upsetting that Jon Stewart is a major news source? Vlad, who is Jon Stewart?
Jon Stewart, I can mistake, but as I know, it's a very, very famous American comedian. From Daily Show.
Yes, that's it exactly. He has a daily show, and so why would people be upset at the thought that that's where young people get their news?
I think the most reason of popular of the show, why young people get news from the daily show, because of style or methods. How do they get news? Because regular news are very bored. I mean, just listening what's happening. But for example, in comedian like Daily Show, it's very funny to hearing, very funny to watching it, and you how do you say? It's easy to understand for young people.
And Diana, have you ever looked at the Daily Show?
No, unfortunately not. I haven't heard about it, and I haven't saw this show.
Haven't seen it, yes.
There are a lot of funny Russians videos in the Daily Show.
Especially about meteorite.
Yeah. Oh, it's alright. Yeah.
It's real picture of Russian life.
I laughing a lot. It's really one of the best videos.
Which one? Say that again?
About meteorite, yeah.
In Chelyabinsk.
Ah, the Daily Show clip about the meteorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Russians are nuts.
What else on that list shocked you as you looked at the Beloit list? Was there another element that you sort of raised your eyebrow about? I will share one with you that I saw this past week. This is very interesting. They have never seen an airplane ticket.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Because you don't get them on paper anymore.
Yes.
Even your boarding pass, most people hold up their phones now, right? The phone has the boarding pass and they scan the phone. Mm-hmm. The digital world, right?
And so I have a question about that, because someone said that that would be a different situation in parts of Russia. Oh, I know it was Konstantin who posted this on the discussion, who has flown. There are some people who would not have seen a ticket in any case because people fly less in Russia, right? And so I wanted to kind of explore that possibility. I think I don't know the answer to that. I know that distances across Russia are immense, and part of that I know from reading Russian literature, but I don't know how common it is to fly in an airplane. I know that my son-in-law, my daughter's husband, had not flown in an airplane until he was an adult. And that in contrast to myself, my family owned a small plane, and I grew up flying.
Uh-huh.
And it was common for us to also fly in a commercial airline. So I'm not a typical person, but I'd like to know if you, Vlad, Dima, Diana, have you flown in an airplane before?
Before what?
Before now. Have you ever flown in an airplane?
About in my adult, maybe four times. But when I was child, about 2 years, maybe 2 years old, I flew maybe 2 or 3 times, but I absolutely don't remember the time.
You can be forgiven for that.
Yeah.
We don't remember very much from being 2. And so, in your adult experience, did you have a paper ticket?
I have no idea how paper tickets look like.
Okay, well.
Let me see if I have one.
You would support the mindset then. And what about you, Diana?
I flew on the plane only when I was a child, when I was about 5 years old, so I don't remember how the ticket looks like, so I can't say anything about this question.
And so, do you still travel back and forth to your hometown in Kazakhstan?
I'm moving to my home in Kazakhstan by bus because it's about 8 hours. 8 hours. I don't know how it explain. 8 hours in the bus, and I go to my home. So
it's an 8-hour trip, we might say.
Here's an airplane ticket.
Where did you get it?
Well, I got it the last time I went to Omsk. It's from Singapore Air, economy class. economy class.
I never heard.
And this is what it looks like. And I don't know if this is a ticket or a boarding pass. Actually,
yeah, that's a question.
I think it's a ticket.
It has a barcode, so.
I think the barcode. Yeah, there's something that we've always seen, a barcode.
Mm-hmm.
And so, let's see. What about you, Dima? Have you flown in? What about paper tickets for you? And have you flown in an airplane?
Times I fly usually to Moscow, but I don't remember paper ticket, but boarding pass. I don't know how it's. посадочный талон. I don't know how
Talon.
Talon, yeah.
how to translate. It's
Token.
It's on paper. It's printed on paper. So we don't have registration with mobile phones.
And I put up a picture of what that boarding pass looks like today on your phone. So when you get in line to get on the airplane, maybe a few people still have pieces of paper, but most people hold up their phone to be scanned.
In Russia, everybody has printed напечатанные талоны, and because I think it's necessary in Russia, because for you flying pays your company, for example, you must confirm to them that you really flew. So you must have a piece of paper so that you are here.
Certainly went through a period like that, but now you just you'd have a screenshot of a boarding pass, and if they required paper, then you would print that out and give it to them. While we're talking about travel, I think there are many Americans of this generation who have never taken a train ride. We have a very primitive train system here, except in the east, along the east coast. You can get trains, and particularly commuter trains, sorry. But and I haven't ridden a train for a number of years. The last train that I rode was in Europe. I did some train travel between France and Spain. And Diana, you said that you ride the bus when you go back home to Kazakhstan. And is that because there is no train, or do you like the bus better?
There is no train in my hometown. In my hometown, there is a railway station. There is train, but there is no
passenger train.
The branch of train which delivered me in my home. So that's why I moved in my hometown by bus. But I think that traveling by train is more comfortable than traveling by bus.
Mm-hmm. Vladislav, I don't understand your question. Can you travel by airplane into the only one state of the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll explain. As I know, in the Soviet time, we have very widespread transport system. I mean, air transport system. For example, you can travel in Omsk region from town to town by using the region transport system. But after the collapse of Soviet Union, our air transport system has become worse, and so we can travel only by only between the large cities, like between Omsk and Moscow. So it is the same situation in the United States. For example, when you live in California and you can use airplane to move another city of California, not another state.
Yeah, the answer is yes. You could fly, for example, from San Diego to San Francisco, or between Los Angeles and San Francisco. In Texas, you can fly between Austin and Dallas, if you want, or San Antonio and Dallas. Or you can fly from San Antonio to Austin. But when you do that, you have to. Sometimes it's easier to drive or to take the bus rather than the airplane, because these days it's become more complicated traveling by airplane with the security restrictions and the cost and parking and all of those kinds of factors. But yeah, it's possible. But it's not.
It's not so.
I don't think it's very common. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I just, as I understand, it's not so popular in America.
No, I don't think so.
We like our cars, and if, for example, Professor Lero were to go to visit Professor Smith, it's not much fun to take an airplane between Austin and the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost drive it in the time it would take you to fly.
Oh, you could drive it several times, right? Because they want you at the airport 2 hours early. Then the flight is 40 minutes. Then it's another 40 minutes to go from the airport to my house. So Professor Lero can get in that pickup truck with the gun rack,
right,
and he can be at my house in 3 hours.
Right. Going the speed limit.
Going the speed limit.
Of course.
Always in Texas.
Always,
But for me, to go from Des Moines to visit Professor Smith, it's 13 hours in the car. And so then it becomes more interesting to think about flying. If more than one person is going, then there's a cost factor. But we don't have trains. Basically, we have only freight trains. And so flying is an option, or driving is an option. We used to have a good bus system, but now that's not always true.
You don't need rail because you have a very good roads.
Yes, but when you get on the train, you don't have to drive. So you're not worried about traffic or getting lost or buying gas. You just get on the train and you get off when you get where you're going.
Yeah, Dmitry and Vladislav, I'll tell you a story about our roads, and you're correct. We have a very excellent interstate highway system. It's called the interstate system, and it was a project of President Eisenhower, President Dwight Eisenhower, pushed this project for the roads, and the reason he did was to be able to move troops around, to move military forces from state to state. And this was in the early 50s when the Cold War was just beginning, and we were not sure of what the Soviets were going to do, what the Soviet Union was going to do, nor were we sure what we were going to do. But it was a defense. It was a defense project. I think the legislation is called the Defense Highway Act or something like that. So we have the Soviet Union to thank for our excellent interstate highway system.
I just put a map up, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you know, we also have the Soviet Union to thank for the internet too.
But
Really?
The reason that the internet does not have a central hub, right? The reason that data packets pass on the internet the way they do is when the military industrial complex was building the internet in the 70s and 80s, they were afraid that if there was one central place through which all the data passed, the first thing that the Soviets would do in the case of a nuclear attack would be to drop a bomb on that place. So the entire internet was designed so you couldn't destroy it. It's fault tolerant, specifically because we were afraid of the Soviet Union.
Oh my goodness.
I'm very upset.
So, returning to the idea of mindset, people of my generation still, many people still think of Russia as being part of the Soviet Union. And now I know better, but a lot of people my age still think of Russia as a large multinational conglomerate of states.
Of commies.
Of commies, yes.
Evil Soviet Union, the empire of evil.
Yes.
Imperia's law.
Invaders.
Well, that's an interesting. These orange lines are the interstate highway system, huh? I've always thought it was kind of amusing, Diana and Dimitri and Vlad, that we would have interstate highways in Hawaii and in Alaska.
Yes, a very good point.
Hawaii. Yeah, why not?
Excellent point.
I think that in Russia we have another situation that we have we don't have any roads, so no one army can go on our land.
Exactly. Right.
It's much easier to drive to Hawaii in America.
So if you take another look at this map, you will see that the Des Moines, where my pointer is close to where Professor Smith's arrow is. He's not actually on I-35, but the highway that connects us is I-35, and Joe, Professor Lero, excuse me, also lives near I-35.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have lived very close to this highway, one place or another on this highway, for over 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the same place.
What is your exit number now, Professor Marston?
Oh, well, now we have a rim road, so that would be the one. I don't know what the exit number is. What's yours?
I live on exit 235B.
Ah, and we have a 235 too, a rim road. But I think it's exit 1.
Mm-hmm.
We're 463.
463?
So we're about 200 miles from Austin.
Right.
463 is actually in downtown Fort Worth, so you
Mm-hmm.
you can cut off and get to my house a little bit more easily.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a
So-
map of the Soviet highway system. I'll see if I can get that.
Okay.
So a lot of people will define their location in relationship to one of these interstate highways. And if you look, I'm going to move my pointer now. And now I won't. My pointer has no place on this map.
It's a little blurry.
So there's a lot of space out there that has no road.
You can very much see the difference between Western European Russia and, trans-Asiatic Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, the Ural Mountains serve as the divide.
Mm-hmm. About here.
And can somebody point out Omsk to me, roughly?
I think this is it. Is Omsk right there?
I think right about there, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Dima, thank you.
Okay, so the road keeps going quite a bit to the east after that.
And what is that highway that comes across the Urals and goes to Omsk? What is its number?
You don't need roads.
You don't need roads.
I got to hear more about this, Vlad. Why do you say that? People need to struggle and suffer more, you mean?
It was sarcasm.
Okay.
But it's our reality.
we have a joke that in Russia we don't have roads, but we have only destinations.
Well, the way I can relate to that is I live in a city, not unlike yours, where it snows all winter. And so all summer they are busy filling potholes in the streets. And do you have that kind of maintenance work in the summer? Are there construction crews working in the city streets to repair the holes from the winter?
Talk a little bit about the quality of Russian roads. Who can tell us about the quality of the roads?
One word, it's terrible.
So what I'm hearing is that you might not get potholes filled.
It doesn't make a sense, absolutely, because we're doing it every time, every summer, and according to the quality of these works and the quality of workers who make it. I don't know. It's not it's not properly doing, because after the 1 or 2 weeks with rain, it's become the same quality as before this before the repair work.
So in Des Moines, they have to do it every summer. But they do. They spend millions of dollars every year to repair the roads from the snow damage. And I think most people, the Iowans who have the mindset that they've always lived here, don't notice it. It's natural to them. Kind of like the goldfish in the goldfish bowl doesn't notice about the water.
I think I've got a picture of
Yeah.
the Russian highway.
Okay.
No.
So, this is
Yeah,
an
that looked to
important
me like an
difference
okay
for
road.
getting around. You probably don't have highway rest stops.
Highway? What are you talking about?
It's highway.
All right.
Oh, we have a few federal highway roads, for example, between Moscow, St. Petersburg, and I don't know, maybe Nizhny Novgorod, something. I mean, in the European part of Russia, but in general, it's not so widespread like in the United States.
Yes, in Omsk we have only one good road. It's a road between the city and between the house of former governor of Omsk region. It's only one very good road in all region.
I'm familiar with this. There are a few roads like that in Texas. I think Governor Biff had a road that went to his ranch out there, the road to nowhere. Is that
Well, President
LBJ.
Johnson did.
Yeah, LBJ.
LBJ had, and it's called State Highway 1.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful way to get out to the hill country, at least as far as
It is.
Johnson City.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are at our time. This has been a very interesting discussion today.
And I think next time I would like for us to continue. It would be interesting to me, and maybe to you, to continue working on a list of things that are typical of either your own generation or a list of the mindset of your parents' generation. I think that there would be important differences, and if you could interview your parents and see if you could get them to talk about what they believe, and you can observe what they believe, what their mindset is, and your own mindset. You're in a good position to do that, and I think your parents might enjoy that conversation. So I certainly have enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you next week. We have 2 more classes. Our last class is on May 21st, May 21.
Goodness. Okay.
So,
Well, thank you for the good discussion.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Diana, it was a pleasure to meet you, and Dima and Vlad, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
good evening.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. До свидания. My big Russian phrase. So Pete, are you going to Moscow today?
I may be able to get back. I have to rush to a class presentation at 11, and I'm hoping it will not last the entire time, so I will hopefully join you in progress.
Okay, I'll look forward to that. And Joe? Joe's gone already. Okay, so catch you later, guys.
All right, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.